Welcome back, and right away let's dive into the conversation. And of course with me this evening is Abdulaziz Idris, who is the coordinator Abuja Traders and Business Owners Roundtable. You're highly welcome. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, good evening.
Glad to have you join me in the studio. Yeah, thank you. Well, let's begin immediately because our time is fast spent. What is your perception on the implication of prosecuting minors, especially in the case of the End Bad Governance protest?
Yes, the End Bad Governance come and go protest. I mean, the End Bad Governance protest that came in August 1st. You know, people were arrested after the protest. It's just it occurs to us now that minors were more involved in those whom were detained.
Okay.
Whereby, if you look at it earlier on, with the picture they were showing us, adults. I mean, people of matured identity, that they are the one that arrest. But this, as what happens with this end of the week, last week here, that's when we acknowledge that most of these arrests were minors. Those whom they arrested were minors. And it has a lot of implications, definitely. Arresting minors, it has a lot of implications in Nigeria, and even according to international countries, how they would look and perceive Nigeria. So if you look at it, really, nobody is happy with these developments here in Nigeria presently. Anywhere you discuss this matter with people, people are very much unhappy. Why should minors be arrested and detained for all this time? And they were charged with treason. It shouldn't be. We are we are not encouraging vandalization. We are not encouraging unpeaceful conduct of protest. But at the same time, we are not expecting police to arrest minors, people underage. We acknowledge the fact that during the protest, yes, some people lost their lives, including even the minors. Then I could remember, I think they had an incident whereby a 16-year-old boy lost his life either in Kano or Kaduna. I cannot fully recall, and some were injured. There are people, I'm sure there are some people that are still in hospital with injury during the incidents that happened between the protesters and the police. But the worst part of it, these boys that were kept in prison for 3 months, malnourished, without care. Some of them are sick. You might find out some of them are sickle cell. You know, by looking at them, they are not being cared very well. And if any one of them has had an ailment, you know, this is an opportunity for that ailment to. I fear that these boys will not die in their hands. It will not going to be good for Nigeria entirely. And how Nigerians will see the government of this present government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. These are children we expect by now they should have been at school. Other children, those who detain them, including those police that arrest and detain these boys, their children are at school and very mature. Why should these children remain in prison for three months? It's uncalled for. And this type of victimization, in fact, is a kind of injustice. I'll put it this way.
All right, then viewers, at this point, our phone lines are now open for you to call in to give in your contribution and, of course, join the conversation. I want to get your reaction about how the intervention of the Attorney General. How would you assess that? Would you say it represents the people's sentiments, or would you say it's some kind of a political ethics?
Yes, the Attorney General, I think, did the right thing by asking the case to be taken to him. Why? Because he knew the implication.
But one would wonder again, does it mean that since in the last 3 months that these minors has been being kept in prison, that the Attorney General is not aware of it?
No, very much he may be aware of it. I'm telling you, they hide it They hide. Many people are not aware that minors are involved. Many people are not aware. But now that it has been revealed, I'm sure he himself, his consciousness told him that it will not ever well for them to allow public outrage over this matter. That's why he quickly acted in this way, I'm sure. And I think I don't, you know, I'm not learned, but I can say that even by law, there's a need for him to make a quick intervention and ensure this matter didn't go the way as expected by the police and other security agencies, because according to them, if you look at from their language, including the one of Nigerian, one of the party leaders, they are telling us that they are not minors, they are married people, they have family.
The married people, we could clearly see
you can imagine 16 years
that some are even below the age of 16.
Yes.
So how come they are married?
That's it. So, you know, some of our politicians, they don't feel, they don't look at it that it's not good for them to be lying. How can somebody be telling me, I'm looking at somebody 11 years, 12 years, 16 years, you are now telling me that he's married. At what age did he married? And these are minors, people that even some of them, let me put it this way, you understand that majority of them, they're ignorant of what even the protest is. They don't even know what is protest. They don't know what is the meaning of the protest. Even the flag they were raising, some people just carry flag, give them, start raising. Some of them, they don't even know the color between the Nigerian flag color and the Russian flag color.
All right, sorry, I will have to hold you there. Let's quickly hear what the scholar have got to say. Hello, good evening. If you can hear me, good evening.
Hello.
Oh, good evening. Glad to have you join us on the show. Your name and where you're calling us from. Oh, I'm sorry, you might have to call us back. Or please, you were saying something. Can you go ahead with what you're saying? But one would again want to think, you know, isn't this a way of government terrorizing the country, especially the safety of our children?
It is, definitely. I don't want to say terrorizing, but at least it's a kind of victimization, which is not supposed to be. As I said earlier, you know, we are not expecting any protest to come with vandalization. Vandalization is unacceptable. Attacking people's properties is unacceptable in protest. But yet, how sure are we that these minors that were arrested, they are the ones that even perpetrated this action? Those who might have done it, they might not be arrested. Rather, they will just go and arrest, make arrests, carry these minors and involve them in it and say, so that they will not be carried by the superiors here in Abuja. Say, how come such kind of things happen and you did not arrest anybody? So it's very common with Nigerian police. You know, sometimes they are looking for a way how to leverage on whatever the case might come up.
Hello, good evening. Hello, if you can hear me, good evening. Oh, I'm sorry, you might have to call us back. I think the network is not. Hello, good evening. Good evening. Glad to have you join us on the show. Your name and where you're calling us from.
My name is Obina, calling from Enugu State.
Obina from Enugu State. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Okay. My own contribution, Mercy, you have to understand, when you hold a thief, when a thief attack you, how you feel.
Lost him also. Network.
Oh, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Go ahead.
Okay. Those people, they looted government property.
Okay.
Understand? So, government need to intervene. You are the human being. I know how you feel when thief attack you. Those people is just like that thief. So, government intervening is not a bad thing. So that's my own contribution.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution and have yourself a wonderful evening. A caller just said that is a way of the government intervention, but is the government intervention in a way of arresting minors? I wonder, how does this make Nigeria look, especially in the international eyes? And he made mention of vandalizing up till now. Okay, how come people, it's not known to the public that these minors have been held for 3 months? But before we continue with that, let's hear what the scholar. Hello, good evening. Good evening. Glad to have you join us on the show. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Yes, I'm calling from Delta State.
All right, please go ahead with your contribution.
See, Nigeria is like, we don't know where we are going, especially the leaders. It's as if we don't know where we are going.
Okay.
Just after this time, where we are, in the age of Nigeria, we are still thinking of arresting minors. Instead of thinking of a way moving forward, we are still arresting minors. Under the Constitution, there's no way we are supposed to arrest minors. Whatever thing they do, the only thing is only the parents that you can get hold of. When the minors going to court, minors under 18 years cannot go to the court. That is the Constitution of Nigeria. So if we have to go in the Constitution, that means Nigeria is becoming porous. So the problem was Nigeria is becoming working.
All right.
They will read us as working. So please, it is very good for us to see the Constitution and see the right of everybody to the Constitution, the status of the Constitution that has to do with everybody. We have to visit it and see how we go about it. What this one they are doing, this one is against the system of this country. And that is why we are not moving forward. Nigeria is going down every day. President is there, ministers are there, senators are there, legislators are there. And in the presence of all these calibers, Nigeria is going down there and speaking. Release them to release the children and go back home and let them face what is on ground.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution, and have yourself a wonderful evening. Now, I want to, would you agree with the last caller? Because I don't know, when the government is telling us that the children are the leaders of tomorrow, and now these children has been held in captivity for more than 3 months. If not for something that happened, a lot of people are not aware of the development. So how safe, I want to understand how safe the future of these children are in the hands of our government.
Yeah, it may not speak very well in that terms, because you know, they said the young shall grow, and yes, they are among them. There could be tomorrow's leaders, no doubt about that. And all these things happening will shape their life, their future life, how they are going to look and perceive the society itself and the government, you understand, itself, or the governance in the future time. Definitely, you know, this will cause trauma in them, and that trauma might keep developing in them up to their old age.
I'm sorry, sorry to cut you short. I think I have to hear from this caller before.
Okay.
Hello, good evening. Oh, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Glad to have you join us on the show. Your name and where you're calling us from?
My name is Tony. I'm calling from Edo State.
Tonya from Edo State. Please go ahead with your contribution.
I don't want to say concerning this issue. Unfortunately, that we don't have leader. The Attorney General cannot tell me that it's not aware. It's a lie.
Okay.
It's just like that man said, I don't believe that. For the president, you know, even the ID, you know, aware of the children in this.
Okay.
It's unfortunate though. That's the one that said they had the PhD. It's unfortunate.
All right.
May God just help us in this country.
Amen. Thank you very much for your contribution, and have yourself a wonderful evening. Hello, good evening. If you can hear me, your name and where you're calling us from. You have just 60 seconds.
Yeah, good evening, madam.
Good evening. All right. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, all these ones you're saying, they are pretending for them to tell you that they don't know what is happening.
Okay.
They know. In the Constitution of Nigeria, a child that is not up to 18 years is not supposed to be detained and charged for treason. Did they carry gun? They want to, did they go to Atoro to overthrow government? They are protected. If the government are sincere, they will have called the youth for round table after the protest. Have they called? They have not called. So the Attorney General and whosoever the IGO, they are aware. All this one is pretend.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Yes, so we should be sincere to our country. Okay, the leader that is not doing well, have they arrested him? Somebody that is not ruling the country well and to protest, have they go behind people and arrest them?
All right. All right. Thank you very much for your contribution, and have yourself a wonderful evening. Okay. Yeah, you were saying something.
Yeah, some people will say, you see, many of them were asking whether we have good leaders. You understand? You know, there are so many things that could lead to this kind of questions, whether we have leaders or not. When the leaders are not actively doing the right thing, definitely people will keep asking whether there's leaders. Though it's not everything that we blame leaders. We have to sometimes blame ourselves too. The society itself. You know, even at this matter, when you look at the parental control of children by their parents, in society, it matters a lot. There are things that you always caution your children for them not to partake or be involved in it. For example, one of the ladies I saw that he couldn't have money to transport herself, but he manages on truck to come to Abuja. He just sent her son for an errand. She did not know that her son is involved in the event for the protest. Many of them were just lured. They were ignorant. They don't know anything. They don't even know the meaning of the protest.
That's why from this time there is everything. They see that some of the children, of course, a lot of them are ignorant and don't even know what is going on. But does that warrant the arrest of this minor? That is what I want to understand. Then again, do you think that in a way, for the past 3 months that these children had been held in captivity, that President Bola Tinubu is not aware of it? But before you take that question, let's say
we have said it.
What the scholar have got to say. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Please turn down the volume of your TV set.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Victor. I'm calling from Ondo State.
All right, Victor from Ondo State. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, I think what happened is a bad PR for the Tinubu government. To redeem their image, I think the only thing I believe that we should do now is to take care of those children and make sure they redeem their image. Because it will actually cause them come 2007. The whole Nigeria is watching, the international community is watching. It's a very, very serious case. And Mr. President Amla, I think they need to work seriously on this and make sure those children are well catered for. We are watching, Nigerians are watching, we'll see the result at the end of the day.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution and have yourself a great evening. So I want you to respond to that question. Do you in all sincerity, believe that President Bola Tinubu isn't aware that these children have been held in captivity for more than 3 months?
No, I know if we are going to be sincere to ourselves, the Attorney General, the Inspector General of Police, and the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria are all aware because they must have a data.
So, what kind of a leader does he make them? What kind of leader does he make? Does this, and looking at the fact that the President Bola Tinubu is not just the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but he is the chairman. He chairs the ECOWAS community. So how do you think this really makes us look in the international eye? Does this speak well of Nigeria?
No, it doesn't. It cannot speak well for Nigeria. Internationally, this will downgrade the image of Nigeria internationally. It will leaven the image of Nigeria internationally. Nationally, even here within us, we knew that it's not a good one. How can you detain a minor who is ignorant of what he's even doing? Of an arrest, it's possible, yes, during the mass arrest, maybe police were able to caught both minors and adults. But by the time the police made this arrest, even at the point of arrest, they should have released these minors. They shouldn't have been subjected to this hardship they protest for hunger.
Now you said that you also believe that President Bola Tinubu is aware that these children have been kept in captivity for more than 3 years. And I remember I asked you, do you think this government is in a way terrorizing this country?
No, I
Because
cannot.
how do you define such an act whereby children who are supposed to be in school, who are supposed to be under their parents' care, had been held for more than 3 months?
Yeah.
So isn't this a way of terrorism? Don't you see it as a?
No, we cannot categorize it as terrorism, as far as this case is concerned. You understand? Because there is a law of the land, so everything has a due process and has a way to follow to the rule of law. You get what I mean? So you cannot say it's terrorization. You understand? But rather, they have subjected the children to the trauma. They subjected them to a kind of how they are going to, it will shape their life in the future. Understand? It's not really good at all entirely, but we can't categorize it as terrorization. Terrorism has its own definition. You know, it differs from things that you do and you are not caught according to the law, and later, you know, litigations and other things follow off. So in this case, as you asked question here, I said yes, because I'm sure the president and the attorney general and the inspector general of police, they have their data of all these children that are involved in this matter. They are very much aware of it. They know everything about it. That's what I'm saying. If you look at it, they hide it from people. It is been exposed now because the lawyers, they have come to court now, definitely. So they have nowhere to hide. Definitely, they have to bring these people for the public to see. This is the situation, and you see the kind of how the children were become. Some of them, they were even painting in at the courtroom, which is, I thought even the judiciary, the judge will have sympathy for these children by giving them a simple bailable conditions. But look at the conditions for the bail. It doesn't. I don't think it's.
Now I think
okay
that drags our attention a bit into the judiciary. So with all that has happened in recent time, both the past elections and the recent election, and of course this end bad governance protesters, especially the arrest of these minors, what is your perspective about the judiciary system?
No, the judiciary system of Nigeria is in shambles. If you look at it now, as you know, definitely we all know that judiciary is the last hope of common man. But yet, if you look at it now,
is it supposed to be the last hope of the common man? Isn't it supposed to be the only hope of the?
The only hope, the last. When I say the last, even if all other factors fail, you expect judiciary to.
But then, has it lived up to being the hope, the last hope?
That's it. That's it. So
has it lived up to that?
No, they are not. They don't live to expectation. I mean, they don't. They are performing their judicial functions with levity. The way I see it, as I said, is in shambles. So because if you look at the judiciary now, it seems like goes to the highest bidder. Who the government uses judiciary as they like. Just for us to look at it exactly what I'm saying, you can see what is going on between River State and just what is happening in River State. Or look at what is happening in Kano State. You understand? So all these things are speaking that to tell you that there is something wrong with Nigeria's judiciary. And yes, the problem we have is we thought judiciary should have been independent. But if you look at it carefully, Nigeria's judiciary is not independent. It's being controlled by the leaders or by the executives. But in developed nations, if you look at it carefully, that you observe many countries, they put their judiciary system in a kind of a real independent way. Not like the one we have in Nigeria. I sometimes look at many of our things in Africa here. We didn't do it the right way. But Nigeria's judiciary, the way they were going, definitely they need a structural overhauling. There must be something wrong somewhere, and that thing needs to be changed. The judiciary, they need to do anything possible to bring back their image. You understand? To ensure that people, Nigerians, can now confide in them.
All right.
Yes.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Glad to have you on the show. Your name and where you're calling us from.
Coming from Benin State.
All right. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Alright, I'm hearing your conversation. As you are discussing, you see, Nigeria is like a country that was not right for independence, but we struggle to say we are right.
Okay.
Then like a coach just put his hand on the tree and say, oh, you already know how to climb this tree. Because look at what is going on. Our judiciary are not working because they are controlled by the government. Government is the one paying them so they cannot see the right thing. How can you hold those 3 children that don't even know left and right to go and sit there, then you should pay them such amount of money? Look at the issue of food. We have food in our own country and we're really suffering. Is that in the hospital? And then the big somebody will come out there and had the other discussion when the other man was supporting the president and you were telling him, because he is enjoying it, it's not, the institution is not affecting him. He doesn't know how people are eating. He doesn't know. You're talking of parity. Then you're talking of food here. Doesn't mean when they give right milk, then you put food into your car, or into your machine for you to go where you want to go. If in the place where you have been going and 300 naira, now it's 1,000 naira, then how can you say the country is good? You're talking about the energy motor you're talking about. Is everybody that can afford that? To put that in order.
All right.
How much will it cost? There's 300 and something thousand. It's not everybody that can afford that. As you were telling me, I heard what you were saying, but at least telling me the right thing. They should look back, or it's really affecting people.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution and have yourself a great evening ahead. So I would want to ask, how would you, so far, what is your perspective of what has just happened, the arrest of the minor under the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? What is your perception about his, administration generally? But before you take that question, I want us to hear from this caller before we sign out. Hello, good evening.
All right.
Good evening, madam.
Good evening. Glad to have you join us. Your name and where you're calling us from?
I'm Bosco from Kobe.
All right. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Madam, I don't know. I'm just trying to wait for the day of the judgment. Because those children they want to try for treason. They even know the meaning of treason. Those children I'm saying before the TV now, they don't even know the implication of the offense they wanted to charge them for. Now, if they should have there, I don't think they know. But I'm waiting to see the judge that will stand before those children and sentence them to treason. The country is dead. Dead.
Well, thank you very much for your contribution. Well, please, I want to respond to the question I last asked before we.
You asked for like a scorecard
yes.
for the present administration. When it comes to this matter like this, the judiciary itself and the governance itself, because the whole of this thing started from governance. We call it bad governance earlier on when they are doing the protest. Though in the north, the name they gave it was hunger protest. That's why everybody, most of young and youths, all of them participated, whether either knowing or not knowing what it means. But if we are going to give a scorecard to the government for this present dispensation, I don't think they will go far below expected. Out of 100, they can't go more than 25%, meaning they are poorly performing because a lot of things had happened. Policies that the government brought in, that leads to the hardship, that leads to the end bad governance protest. You understand? And when you bring in any policy in a developed nations, any policy that you brought, so far the outcome of the protest, of the policy after implementation, come back negative on its on the population, either withdrawn or modified. You understand? Or at least overhaul it. But in Africa or in Nigeria, look at where we are. Our leaders, they come with policy. We tell them, no, this policy is bad. It's not good. It's not. We are finding it difficult to eat. We are finding it difficult to drink water. Can't you change it? Can't you modify it? These should have been something that we should be talking about. I'm telling you, if today, a poor man can be able to eat 3 square meal and drink water at the time he needed to drink water. He doesn't care how many aircraft President buy. He doesn't care how many Cadillac President buys. He doesn't care how many vehicles were bought to the legislators. It's none of his business. Because he has eaten, he has drink what he need to be drink. He doesn't have any problem apart from that. How many times? Earlier on they said presidential aircraft were up to around 11 some years back. Who knows when it accumulated to become 11? Nobody cares because the common man eats 3 square meal because he got it. You understand? But when now you say no, he cannot eat the 3 square meal, you remove subsidy of fuel, you remove subsidy on diesel, you remove subsidy on jet, you remove subsidy on kerosene, you remove subsidy on electricity. You understand? Healthcare is in deplorable state. Our roads are bad. You understand? Education system had entirely collapsed as far as public school is concerned. You go to school, no chairs, nothing, floor all were broken, no ceiling. Children are studying under a kind of bad condition, unconducive environment. What I'm trying to say. How do you expect Nigerians not to protest? President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the master of all protests. I have said it earlier on. He is the master of all protests. He has protested. We know the time he is defending democracy during the military. To our surprise, somebody who we thought is a Democrat, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we have confidence in him that he is a Democrat, but look at what is going on now.
You seem to feel disappointed in
yes,
President Bola Tinubu.
Nigerians are entirely disappointed.
Did you vote him?
I voted for him. I did not even vote him. I canvassed support for him.
You canvassed and supported for him.
Okay,
and right now you're feeling disappointed.
I'm totally disappointed this time around.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Idris, for coming. It's been wonderful with you in the studio. Thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to have you some other time on the show. Well, this is where we call it a day on today's episode on Spotlight with Mercy. But before I go, let me say to the federal government, this is not the country. The Nigeria we know today is not the country that our former leaders fought for. The Nigeria we know today is not the Nigerian you have promised the people for protection of lives and properties. This is not the Nigeria that the people are looking up to you to give them. And with that, let's call it a wrap until I come your way some other time. Keep watching Kaftan Television. Have yourself a wonderful evening.